everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. Really excited for our guest today. Lauren Ashley is here with us. She's not a traveling therapist. You guys know sometimes I just bring on other guests that are like tangential to the traveling therapist world and the people that we can really relate to. Lauren Ashley is an intuitive business development coach, associate certified coach, ICF, mindset and manifestation queen, and host of the Aligned and Magnetic podcast. Hi, Lauren. I'd love if you would just maybe introduce yourself. I'd love to hear more about you.
Thanks so much for having me, Kim. It's really fun to have these sorts of conversations. So I'm really stoked to be here. My journey started in my 4-year degree, which was in psychology.
Okay.
And I remember sitting in my abnormal psychology class and having a very clear understanding that I wasn't meant to help people who were really suffering from mental illness. I think there are people for every job out there. And it just was super clear to me that that was going to kind of weigh me down. It felt really heavy to kind of carry that, right? And a couple years later, I was in a positive psychology class. And I remember learning about the medical model that is Western culture primarily, and how our services support people who are below surviving, like they're really struggling. But there's not a lot of people helping people go from surviving to thriving. So there's support out there for people who are struggling and help them get back up to ground zero, help them to survive through life. And I had a moment, and just one of those moments that I really recall, where I was like, you know what? Those are the people that I'm meant to help. I'm meant to help the people who are here to go beyond surviving. I'm here to help people thrive. So I started my online business before 2018. I started in network marketing, as it was kind of like the first thing that presented itself and felt like the right next move. As I grew, I was like, nah, this is not for me. But it's what got my feet wet in entrepreneurship, if you will. So in 2018, I actually moved to Mexico because I had this dream of building this online business and helping others. I wasn't yet certified as a coach, but I knew that coaching would probably be my path. At the time, I was just focusing on helping people with their health, their wellness, and their mindset. So I moved to Mexico to go all in on my business. And I really embarked on not just a journey of starting my business, but also a really spiritual journey. So it's where I learned a lot about energetics and alignment and things beyond those physical, tangible whatevers. I learned more about the unseen things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I continued my journey of building my health coaching business. I became certified, started helping more people, was working with business owners. A lot of business owners came to me for support too. I have a background in marketing and web development. So I was, helping with tech, messaging, all of that jazz. And basically what I went through and what other people were going through that I was working with was just this overall frustration with the business world. And entrepreneurship in business comes with a lot of stresses, right? And what I kept hearing is like in myself and in my community, something's off, something's off, something's off. But there wasn't anything really related to, like, there was mindset stuff, there was like business strategy, but there wasn't much being said about alignment and about aligning yourself and your energy to your vision and what you're here to create. And so I kind of embarked on this journey. I'm not sure if you're familiar with human design,
Yes.
but I love human design. I love human design. And it really was a game changer. Now, it's not the only tool I lean on because I don't see it as like a holy grail truth, but it's like a piece of the larger puzzle when it comes to alignment. And when I really started to embody my human design is when stuff changed for me. It's when things got easier. I could see where I was getting frustrated. And with the work I had been doing in energetics, I was able to shift from that frustration into ease and flow and alignment. So that's kind of where my whole work started. And I created the Aligned, Magnetic, and Profitable Business Framework for people who are out of the box, for people who don't really resonate with the mainstream business advice, for the people who are here to have a bigger impact but want to do it their way. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. I hope that it was succinct enough.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Yeah, I had so many little questions in there because most of the people listening to this podcast are therapists, and we were all bachelor's level, like psychology or counseling or whatever. And there's a point in that journey where it's like, okay, gosh, now I'm working in agencies and I'm probably going to have to go to graduate school. I'm going to have to go to that next level. And then in the evolution, after, most of us get licensed and our master's degree and all that, we get licensed. And then we're like, okay, wait, maybe I want to be a coach, especially
Yeah.
this podcast. Everybody's like a traveling therapist. So they're living in other countries or not in their states of licensure. So that's kind of the evolution that I see most at the
Mhm.
time. But it's so interesting to hear your story. Like you're sitting in a 4-year program, I guess, bachelor's level for psychology. And you're like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. So you just decided, did you finish out like a bachelor's level and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
were just like, I'm just not going to pursue it that way. I'm just going to go into this coaching world? Or like, how'd you make that shift
Yeah.
after like going after a degree, if that makes sense?
That's a really great question. I actually stayed back an extra year in my 4-year degree to pursue my honors and do my thesis because I was actually going to go and get my PhD. And I thought that that was the route for me. But as I kind of continued to sit with it and I completed the thesis process, which was like, oh my God, so gruesome.
Oh my God. I can't even, I didn't have to do a master's thesis, thank God, but it sounds like a nightmare.
It was an undergrad thesis, but
Yeah.
the idea is to prep you for your master's, right?
Ah,
And a lot of the programs, because I was going to go into organizational behavior, leadership, like very science and research based program. And after completing my thesis, I was like, you know what? It's so interesting and I love the research, but I don't think that is the path that I want to go. And I had gone pretty far down that path and exploring that path. Like I redid an entire year just to be able to get my marks up to be able to finish my 4-year degree with honors and to do my thesis and everything. So yeah, I kind of just I was again like feeling that frustration, feeling like something was just not fitting. So I was like, you know what? Let's just take time. Let's take time. I had a job lined up because I was working at the university that I studied at, and I had a full-time career pretty much lined up for me thanks to co-op. So the plan was, just work and figure out what's next after. And so while I was doing that, I was doing marketing and recruitment, and I really loved it. And there was something else that kind of sparked inside of me. I just kept coming back to this vision of helping others. And I kept thinking and dreaming about living a laptop lifestyle while helping others. So what's funny is back then I was actually engaged to someone from Mexico. That is part of my story. We're no longer together, but we did go ahead and get married, and we spent a couple years together before we realized it just wasn't going to work. But it was a really big part of my journey because the plan originally was to bring my ex to Canada when we weren't exes, obviously. And I just remember making this 5-year plan. I was so set on, okay, I'm going to stay in this job. I'm going to go get my MBA. I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, and I'm going to bring my husband to Canada. And that was like logically what I thought I had to do to kind of get to where I wanted to be in life. Because then after I climbed the corporate ladder, then I would start my business. Then I would go all in on my dream of, living a laptop lifestyle. Then I would be good enough to do that. That would be the right time. And I kind of just had this moment. My job was shifting and changing as the office dynamics changed. And I actually ended up getting cut. My contract didn't get renewed. So I left early and I was like, you know what? Time for something different. And it was really heartbreaking at the time because I was planning my whole next 5 years around that role. But there was so much just drama and like toxicity in the office that I just really didn't want to deal with. And it was such a blessing looking back because that moment for me really solidified in my mind, like, okay, my future isn't secured in some sort of corporate position. And also, why am I planning my life around a job I don't even love anymore because it's just moved and changed so much from what it was originally? And I'm over here daydreaming and planning a business, but I'm not actually going all in on it. So it was one of those moments where I could see the two opposing worlds kind of. And it took a lot of conversation and I guess just really sitting with that idea. And that's when I decided, like, you know what? I'm just going to move to Mexico and I'm going to go all in on my business because at that time I had so much mindset stuff that was making me procrastinate. I was not making moves in my business because I felt comfortable in my job, which I think there's ways around that. I don't think you have to like leave the country, and quit your job to make it a reality.
You can if you want to.
You can. It's an option. And that's the option that I took. And it definitely came with a lot of struggle, but it's been really fulfilling and really rewarding.
So did you already know the person in Mexico that you were going to be with and that took you down there?
Yeah.
Or were you just like, I want to go to Mexico and then that happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we met on vacation and we were together for 2 years before we got engaged and decided to get married. It was actually a really beautiful wedding. All of our families came and we got to like just spend time on vacation together, which was awesome. But yeah, as we kind of spent time together, and I think COVID really brought up a lot of differences for a lot of couples. And, I saw a lot of other people kind of going separate ways during that time. And so that's what happened. It was kind of one of those moments where life shows you the path that you're on and you realize, okay, maybe this isn't, the most aligned path. And, my mom is actually a professional coach. She went to Royal Roads University for coaching. And I remember she said to me, because I told her about that positive psychology class when I was like, this is what I want to do. And she was like, oh, you would be such a great coach. And I was like, whatever, Mom. You and your coaching. She was just too obsessed with it at the time. I could not even fathom. I was like, I don't want to turn into a crazy person like you. So yeah, I was against it at first. But as I kind of continued to dive into coaching and I hired my own coach, I saw how transformative coaching is. And then I actually got certified and felt more confident to pursue that. And I could see for myself the transformation that was occurring within true coaching conversations. There's a lot of coaches out there that don't have the tools, and that's a different story. But when you are a professional coach, like the potential for change is massive.
That's awesome. So you moved to Mexico, you're kind of shifting into this like coaching idea business that you want to build and then getting into energetics down in Mexico. Like I would like to talk about that. I think that's so cool. Even if human design, I'd like to talk about that too, because I love human design. It's the coolest thing ever. You guys listening, you can go do like a free human design quiz online. It'll give you a little background about what it is and everything. But I'd love to just kind of talk about the energetics piece and like how that's now incorporated into your work. It sounds like you made sort of a model around what you've learned.
Yeah. So something that I'm really focused on right now that's relevant in my life is, so my framework is aligned to magnetic and profitable. And what I have seen is that when you're not in alignment with yourself and you're not in alignment with your future state or what you desire to create, then the energy can't flow. We create resistance, right? And so that shows up in our mindset, it shows up in our actions, and it shows up in how we show up for things. And what's been true in my experience, this might not land for everybody, and that's okay. But what's been true for me is that people can sense energy. I'm sensitive to energy. And when the energetics of something is off, you can tell, right? And so a lot of the work that I do with my clients is helping them to align their energy, so who they are in human design, right, with their mindset and their values and vision. And in creating that alignment, it paves a path to magnetize the results and the opportunities that we're looking for in business. And when we couple that with profitable systems and, magnetic messaging, then it creates a solid foundation for people like us to do the work that we came here to do. So it's a really holistic blend. I came up with this the other day because sometimes I struggle to tell people what I do and to explain it. And I find the people who get it. The people who don't get it, they're like, well, I don't get it. Okay, that's fine. The thing I came up with is like, I am the homeopath or naturopath, but for business, right? In a nutshell. When you go to a homeopath or a naturopath, you're looking for alternative medicine. You're looking for finding the root of your problem. You're looking for different answers. And so that's kind of my parallel, right? Obviously, I'm not a homeopath or a naturopath. It is a metaphor. But the thing that's been really relevant for me that I've been working on and really diving into lately is our undefined centers in human design and how we pick up energy from other people. I moved from Mexico recently to Montreal. So I moved from like jungle to a city. And I have noticed how much more sensitive I am here to doubting myself and my abilities, to thinking that I have to build my business in a particular way. And those are all just thoughts, but I have an undefined ajna and crown center. So I pick up on what's going on for other people who are broadcasting those messages. So I love everything about human design, but my particular interest right now is in looking at those centers and aligning with the centers and using different tools to help us cleanse away what is not ours. Because our undefined centers are where we're most open to influence and conditioning and to being not ourselves, right? Of course, there's work that we can do with the defined centers as well, because we can fall out of alignment there too. But I find that the undefined centers is really what throws us off track and out of connection with who we know we are and what we're meant to do, if that makes
interesting.
sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my own human design because
Yeah.
I believe my undefined center was like the sacral center. Is that a center that people?
What type are you?
Generator. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're a generator, your sacral center would be defined.
Oh, it would be. Oh, okay.
You'd want to look for the white centers. So any of the white centers, those are open or undefined centers, and that's where you're prone to conditioning from others.
Is there like a line, I can't remember everything about human design. I probably would love to have you come back just to talk about it because it's so interesting to me. But like the hermit or something, like when I turn 50, it's like I'm going to move up to the rooftop or something and I'm going to be able to shout my message.
Oh, that's line 6.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm the same thing. So I just went through my Saturn return and I'm on my way to the roof. I'm 31. I'm like making my way on. And I can tell you that the last 3-4 years has been absolutely tumultuous. Is that the right word? It's been a crazy. And it has been just really interesting and lots of growth and transformation. But yeah, so the line 6 does go through 3 different phases in life. But the 2, so you might be a 6 2.
I feel like I am.
So the 6 is the role model, right? So you're here to go through that transition, those phases, so that when you climb off the roof again at around the age of 50, that's when you can really step into your mentor role and teach people, right? It's interesting because I'm actually sitting with that now and I can feel within myself the desire to kind of not be public at all and just process. But my brand is very much public, right? So I'm toying with now, okay, I don't believe that it is ultimately true that I can't have a public image. Like, I think that's very limiting. And I think that a lot of people take human design as truth when it's an experiment and it's a tool. It's not something that you have to like 100% abide by. And I think that we can apply it in different ways. So I'm currently sitting with that. I'm a 4/6 profile in human design and just really leaning into, okay, now that I'm at this stage in my life, what feels aligned? You know, if it doesn't maybe look the same as it did before, well, what does it look like? What could it look like? And how could I leverage what is happening or occurring for me now, if that makes sense? I'm all about leveraging energy because when we do the things that are aligned to us, we're more fulfilled and we have more energy to pour into the things that we want to do. Right.
Yeah. So interesting. Gosh. So I'm almost 50. So when I'm 50, I feel like I'll be more comfortable with shouting from the rooftops. Because I hate public speaking, but I force myself to do it anyway now. And I'm like, maybe one day I'm going to wake up and it's just going to be so much easier for me once I turn 50. That's like in my mind right now.
I think it comes down to practice. I'm on that same train with you. I kind of, my whole life, like I remember leaving a history class one day in high school because my lungs literally felt like they were collapsing.
Oh my gosh.
Because I had to deliver a presentation of history, which I absolutely hated history, and in French. And I remember my teacher, he was like, it was genuine what I was experiencing, but he didn't like me. He was like, no, you still have to present. And I was like, okay, but I'm actually not feeling good.
Like, I feel like I'm going to pass out because I can't breathe.
Yeah, exactly. And so a really big thing for me actually has just been learning how to embrace who I am. Because a lot of my obstacles are around, well, sometimes I can't get the right words out. And sometimes I don't sound smart because I just repeat myself. And sometimes my words get jumbled or I use the wrong words or I make up words. And I think the society that we grow up in would label that as something. Maybe it's stupid, maybe it's dumb, maybe it's like not intellectual, whatever. but my work has really been around, if I'm like experiencing this, I can't be the only one experiencing this, first of all. So how can I embrace who I am and what I bring to the table and shine anyway? So that's been really helpful for me, stepping into uncomfortable situations, but doing it my way,
Yeah. So I'm assuming you do the stuff and what you do with your coaching, but once I figured out my human design, I was selling a product because I have like 15 income streams, so I'm always selling something. But there was this one thing that wasn't selling, so I reached out to a coach that actually took your human design into account and like helped you like redesign your sales page, your copywriting around, your human design. And I remember after we rewrote that page and she based it on your generator, you've got this, that, you need short and sweet, and here's why, and all this stuff. It was super helpful. And then I felt more aligned to the product. And I feel like that energy, like I feel like you put that energy out there and the people pick up on that. And, I'm saying this to the traveling therapists out there that maybe want a new income stream or even marketing their private practice. If you're not feeling like that authentic connection, like you were saying earlier, people kind of pick up on that energy.
Absolutely. And we have so many models out there these days for how to do something successfully. And I think sometimes that can be a really huge barrier, although it's good for showing us what's possible and for providing different options. It can become a barrier in the sense that it kind of makes our brain stop working and we stop asking ourselves, well, what is it for me? What is it for me? What is it for me? And we kind of just follow a template or cookie cutter strategy that we think is going to sell, but ultimately we don't feel good about it. And then we are scratching our heads and wondering why it's not selling. And it's not selling because it's not aligned, right?
Yeah, no,
It makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. So just maybe shifting gears a little bit, you've got this coaching certification because this is a thing that comes up a lot. It's like, I'm a therapist, I'm licensed, master's degree, all that stuff. But now I want to do coaching. So what do I do? Do I need to become certified in coaching? Like, how do I become certified in coaching? Because a lot of the messaging in the therapist world is you just go be a coach if you want to, and you try not to cross the lines and all that stuff. But I don't see too many coaches that come on here that actually have a certification like that. So could you share about that or what it is and what sets you apart maybe for somebody that doesn't have a certification?
Yeah, what I can say is, and just from my experience, so I see a lot on my social media about coaching because I'm in the coaching industry. And I can tell you that coaching is a specific set of skills. And if not honed, we can end up doing a lot of damage. Now, I think that a therapist might have an easier time learning coaching skills, perhaps because of the background, but that's an assumption. I guess it depends on a lot of different things, right? I personally believe in certification. And the reason being is because when you are certified with the International Coaching Federation, you abide to their core competencies and their code of ethics and standards. I have seen a lot and heard of a lot of situations where people are getting really like traumatized, maybe mini traumatized or micro traumatized, but just not having a good time with coaches. And it's a lot of the time because it's someone who didn't go through proper training. And it becomes a very fine line to walk. There's a lot of nuance in coaching, right? There's a lot of situations that like you honestly can't just read a book and become a professional coach, in my opinion. So there's a lot of different certifications out there. I'm actually a lead faculty at a coach training academy. So if you're interested, I would love to share more about that with you. I personally love our training, and I've heard from many leaders who have taken coach training before that this is like the real deal.
So what is somebody looking at? Like if they went through a coaching certification, what's usually like the time commitment for that? And then sort of the requirements and the cost around something like that, like just on average? I'm sure people would love to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our academy is a year long. Our level 1 is typically 4 months long. And we meet biweekly, 3 times a month, biweekly for 2 hours. So it's about 2 hours plus maybe like an hour, I would say 3 to 4 hours a week of studying and of being in class. And what's important about being in class is that you are, first of all, able to have those conversations. Like if you're not an active participant in your learning, the learning doesn't stick, right? And that's what a lot of coaching and facilitating coaching skills is all about, is making sure that learning is sticking and that we're making lasting change. And so, yeah, we teach the core coaching skills and we provide a lot of feedback, which is really important because you can't always see what you're doing wrong, right? So to hear from, or not necessarily wrong, but like maybe not the best way possible. So to partner with someone and to hear feedback from mentors is really helpful. So level 1 is 4 months. And some people go off and they just take that and they are good enough with that. And some people actually want to go through and get certified. So then they come through mastery, which we do online or live. And that's usually a 3-day live in person or 6 half days online. And then you also have to get mentor coaching before applying for your ICF credential. But basically, everything that we provide with the academy, it's called the Coach Approach Leadership Academy. And everything that we provide in the academy basically gets you right up to the point where you need to apply for your credential. So we talk about, how to get your practice hours, and we go through the mentor coaching process, and we talk about the exam because there is a coach knowledge assessment exam that you have to take as well. All of that is to prepare our coaches to become fully certified with ICF. And we have developed this program across many years, but I think it was just earlier this year that we got our first coach through. We've been teaching the curriculum for years, but we've up-leveled as we've gone along. So I think our first coach just went through and actually got her ICF certification and was super proud about it. And since then, more have gone through the full process. So yeah.
That's awesome. Very interesting. Yeah, because that's always a debate. Like, do I need a certification? And some people are like, no. And other people are like, yeah. So it's always this big thing.
Yeah. I mean, technically, you don't need one because the industry is not regulated. But from my experience, it's better to have it because if you are someone that is wanting to do their best work in the world, it's safer to go and learn the skills than to just go at it like completely blindly. Because again, it's a different set of skills. It's a different focus, I guess. Something that you could do if you wanted is you could go to the International Coach Federation website and check out the core competencies. Those would be involved in all trainings. Well, at least all trainings should have or should be teaching those core competencies because that is what it is to have a coaching conversation.
That's really interesting. Thank you for talking about that. Yeah, because we hear that all the time. I love this idea of just like training in energetics. You're certified as a coach, but also this training in energetics and the human design stuff. I wonder, like, what other things do you incorporate into your work if somebody were to work with you, like energetic wise? I just love to hear about that.
Yeah. So my clients love my meditations. They absolutely love them. And it's something that I'm working on getting uploaded more of them to my YouTube channel because I know that people love them when they listen. So that is something that I do. Lots of journaling prompts, a lot of journaling. The process kind of comes out through my coaching because my unique gift is hearing the words and understanding where the energy block is, right? So if you're telling me that you want this, but you're saying this, like I have a gift for seeing that and being able to kind of reflect that and work through that with my clients. So a lot of the energy work comes through in our one-on-one sessions. But in addition to that, journaling prompts, meditations, Reiki, and definitely having an understanding of human design. I do human design readings too. So that's something that I also incorporate because I think having an understanding of your chart is really helpful to know how you're showing up, to know what maybe strategies or tools would be in alignment for you, would work effectively for you, especially for people who are non-sacral. So that would be projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. They have a really hard time keeping up with a lot of business strategy and business related kind of stuff, like ideology, if you will.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That makes perfect sense. So how does somebody work with you? How does somebody find you?
Yeah. So my website is coachlaurenashley.com. We can totally, if you are interested in learning more about how we can work together, we can have a connection call. This is a no pressure call just to see if there's alignment between us because it's really important to work with people who are aligned. And so, yeah, we can have a connection call and chat about options. I will hear what you're challenged by and basically recommend. I have a lot of offerings and programs. So, yeah, and recommend a program from there. I also have the Aligned and Magnetic podcast, and that is on YouTube. It's on Spotify, Apple, and I'm on Instagram as well. So, yeah.
So who's your ideal customer? Somebody was listening to this right now. Like, who would be your ideal client that you would want to help and work with?
Basically, what I've kind of narrowed down to, I kind of flip-flop on this all the time.
I have a hard time with that too.
Creators. Yeah.
Like, what is my niche? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that honestly, I have had to kind of figure out how to do again my way, like go against it, because whenever I do narrow down, it doesn't stick because it's too narrow. So I've learned to niche my programs and not myself, because we're multi-dimensional, multifaceted beings. And when we try to put ourselves in a box, it just doesn't really work out. So I primarily work with, and I was speaking primarily to creators, service providers, coaches, healers, that group. But I've kind of shifted now and speaking to leaders, high achievers, and entrepreneurs, which I think kind of encompasses all of that. But it's basically people who feel like they don't fit into the traditional business world, people who want to create success on their terms, people who want to be their authentic selves and brings whatever vision that they have to life. A lot of people have, a calling to have an impact in some way, shape, or form. It's okay if you're not clear on it yet, because I have obviously tools and programs to help clarify what that vision looks like. But someone who's yearning to have an impact. And yeah.
That's amazing. I totally can relate to you too with like the niche thing. It's like, and it just changes over time too, as you evolve, I feel like, so
absolutely.
That makes perfect sense. Well, thank you very much. It's been super interesting. Thanks for sharing. And we didn't even really talk about your traveling, but I guess you're in Montreal now. Is that what you said?
Yes, we're in Montreal right now. We have a home in Mexico, which if anyone wants to go to Mexico, it's on Airbnb. It's really amazing. And it's a little town called Puerto Morelos. It's about 20 minutes from Cancun. It's really beautiful, amazing people. We live in an awesome community. But yeah, so I go back and forth from Montreal to Mexico a couple times a year, and we travel a lot. The States, we've traveled a lot of Mexico and travel in Canada as well.
Nice. I love that laptop lifestyle too.
I prefer being in an office because I feel more grounded and I feel like I can make better progress. When I travel, I feel kind of like disoriented. And I know why, according to my human design. So I've had to kind of come up with systems to make sure that I can like ground and continue to make progress. But that's the whole part of it, right? Is like learning what is going to work for you so that you can go and live your life. Because I don't think that, it's just this whole live to work thing is not working. It's not working.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we'll put all your links in the show notes and everything. But thanks for taking the time today.